Welcome, Community Wise podcast listeners. It is the month of June, and we welcome you to this month's podcast. And today we have a special guest with us to discuss the importance of Juneteenth. I would like to introduce our listeners to Dr. Carmaletta Williams, the CEO of the Black Archives of Mid America. Dr. Karma, welcome to LISC Community Wise Podcast.
Thank you, Holly. It's great to be invited.
Well, we are so glad that you are here to drop some knowledge on us. Just a little bit of background about our audience. As you know, LIST serves the greater Kansas City area. We specialize in housing, economic development, financial stability, and all of those. And so, this month, we always have a podcast every month, and we typically go with the theme of the month. And this is June. And as a kid growing up, I learned about Juneteenth from St. Monica's Elementary School. Shout out to Mr. Jimmy Watts. And also my parents. And it's just been something that's ingrained in my life. And so when I went to Howard, I learned even more about it. Um, but it seems like those of us who have been celebrating Juneteenth since God, I can remember, it's now made a resurgence or it's become popular, shall we say? Um, and correct me if I'm wrong, within the last couple of years. And with that being said, it's been passed, created a federal holiday around Juneteenth. So a lot of organizations are closed in honor of Juneteenth. So, Dr. Karma, before we get into your thoughts on Juneteenth, what it is, how it came about, all that kind of jazz, do you mind sharing with our listeners a little bit about your background and your love of history and how you became the CEO of the Black Archives? And what the Black Archives actually is for those of the listeners who are not familiar with it.
No, I don't mind at all. I have to use the well worn, almost worn out term, I have a diverse background. I have done some of everything. As a high schooler, I worked in Blue Valley Federal Savings and Loan that no longer exists, and Swope Parkway National Bank, which was a black loan bank that I loved, and I worked in radiation therapy, construction, but I found my niche in college teaching. So I was a college professor for 28 years. I taught English and African American Studies at Johnson County Community College for 28 years, and after that, I went to China and taught for a year. And when I came back, I got a call. My son and I had set up a publishing house, which we still have. And I got a call, Dr. Carmen, this is a 911 call. And usually, when I got those calls, somebody had lost a family member and wanted us to help them with funeral programs or um, obituaries. One woman who sticks in my heart, my cousin told her to call me. She said, my brother died and he didn't do much with his life, but we want people to know that he was important to us. So we saw that as part of our mission, is to make sure that family members felt good about what was being said about their loved ones that they had lost. And then I got a 911 call, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, who died? And they said, oh, nobody passed. So why is this a 911 call? And I was told because the Black Archives is in chaos and it needed my help. And I said, oh, thank you very much, but I like working at home in my pajamas. So anyway, we had a couple of conversations, and then Taylor Fields, who was the board chair, asked if I would come down and meet with him. And I fell in love with this place. It is the embodiment of what I spent my entire teaching career talking about. You know, African American life and culture and preserving that. It's important to me, now that I'm a Gigi, that my great grandson has this history available to him. We know, and as a millennial, you know that it wasn't always taught to you. That books, history books, curriculums were absent of Black history, and especially the truth about Black history, all of it. They would tell you a little bit about Martin Luther King, a little bit, not the whole story, a little bit about Rosa Parks, not the whole story, and that was supposed to represent all of Black history. But instead, I found here a place that could actually tell that story, tell that entire story, have people share that experience. As a writing teacher, one of the things that I used to tell my students all the time is if you're a successful writer, your readers share that experience with you. So that's what we're trying to do here at the Black Archives. We're trying to make sure that all the exhibits make it possible for everybody who walks in our doors to be able to share that experience, to feel those spirits, to know that Black life and culture didn't just automatically appear, that there were boots on the ground, as we hear so much now, people who made that happen. And so that's what we do here. And I'm excited about that.
Oh, wow. It's funny you say you're Gigi. And so for me, I have two small kids. A seven, she'll be 7 in June, and she's in the Lee Summit School District. Um, and then I have a 2-year-old boy who he on his own world. But yes, Raylan asked me, "What is Juneteenth?" And I directed her to her grandpa. I explained the not a little bit. I explained just a little bit of it so that she had the context. But I wanted her to get that rich history from her grandfather, who's a retired civil rights attorney. And so you're absolutely right. When we grew up, we didn't hear the full story of everything. And so that was the beauty of going to a predominantly Black elementary school and having people like my dad come into our classroom, or Mr. Watts coming into the classroom and telling us about our history. Uh, so I appreciate that as a mother now, with all the craziness that is happening in our world and in our school world and the lack thereof, and wanting to take certain things out of and not teach certain things. So I appreciate that. So with that being said, this is particularly geared towards everybody, but particularly my kid who asked, "What is Juneteenth?" So Dr. Karma, what is Juneteenth and why is it so important?
It's important for all of us, your 7 year old, my 40-year-old, to know that what Juneteenth is, it's not just a holiday. We know that 2 years before the Civil War was over, that the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. That just freed enslaved people in areas of rebellion against the government. Not all of them. Then the Civil War ended, which actually should have freed everybody, but it didn't, because there were those people who um, owned bodies who wanted to keep that ownership, and they didn't care what the government said. We see that now. We see that in 2022 when we have people telling us who can vote, who can't vote, who shouldn't be able to vote. And a lot of that, most of that is racial. But we also had a woman here in the state of Missouri who said people with challenges, emotional challenges, physical challenges, will be struck from the voting rolls. So what happens then is that those people who have that power decide who gets to do and who doesn't. And so they had decided that the people who get to know that they're free are not the people who worked there, who worked in their state. And it's not just coincidental that Juneteenth happened in the state of Texas. There, a few years ago, the state of Texas took out all references to slavery from the history books. How do you do that in Texas? How do you do that? So it was important then, mostly because of control and power, that people not tell those enslaved people that they were free. So the Navy boat pulled up and they went out and made the announcement. But also remember that the announcement said you should stay where you are and work as an employee for the people that you were once enslaved by. Um, what was that pay going to look like? So we know it was just a new kind of slavery, but also it was the movement that let people know that you have power, you have freedom. And we're talking about people who had spent generations working at no pay. So they had no money. All of a sudden, you're free to do what you want in the world. Well, how do you pay for that? And so that's why we have a slow migration out of certain places. But the power was there, the agency was there. Juneteenth said, okay, you can do this. You actually have the power, the authority, the agency to frame your life the way you want to see it. And that's what happened. And people did that. I want your daughter and my grandson to know that regardless of what you see on TV or what people try to tell you are boundaries for Black people, they don't have to be. They don't exist. They're artificial. You can kick through the doors. You can burst the glass ceiling. You can knock down walls. Yes, you have the power to do that. You have the legal power. But we also understand that one of the things that happened with SCLC, the Martin Luther King group during the Civil Rights Movement, was they kept saying, the Constitution gives us this right. We just want you to enforce it. It's not going to happen automatically. It didn't happen in 1866. It's not happening now. But we need our young people to know that they can make it happen. They have the authority, they have the power, they have the agency to do that. That's the power of Juneteenth, is that idea of somebody having control, putting you in a box and determining how far you will or will not go. That's over. That's over. You don't have to listen to that. You don't have to believe it. And when we look at some of the issues that happen with our children, I always think they believe it. They believe it. They don't know that they don't have to believe that. So I love these celebrations. I love them because it gets the word out that you are free. We actually have a T-shirt that says
I know.
free-ish.
I have one. I love it.
and that's the truth. But we have to work to make it be all the way to claim it.
Wow. Okay. So Juneteenth is technically celebrated on June 19th. But tell us this. What are your thoughts about it becoming a federal holiday? And this year it is celebrated on June 20th. So that is a Monday because June 19th is a Sunday, actually Father's Day Sunday. How, what kind of action had to happen in order for it to become a federal holiday? Like, how long was this in the making?
It was a long time. Juneteenth is actually the 10th Saturday of the month. So that switches every year. It's something different. The actual day was the 18th. We know that you don't get a holiday on Saturday because you're off anyway. So that's okay that it's on Monday. Just keep celebrating it. Um, it's important that we do that we acknowledge it. In words of Malcolm X, by any means possible. We have to do that. We have to get the word out. We have to make it known. And the purpose is not just to celebrate those people who were freed a century and a half ago, but also to let people living today know that you really are indeed free. You don't have to believe those negative stories about you. You don't have to buy into the stereotypes. Stereotypes by nature are negative. Don't believe it. Exert yourself, exert your freedom, and be free to claim your space in this country. And to me, that's the bottom line with it all. For the federal government, I was honored. I mean, when they did that, I personally felt honored because I felt that everybody who in any way ever that was connected to me um, earned that. They earned that right. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was from Yazoo, Mississippi, certainly a site of enslavement. My grandmother's people were part of the Exodus movement, came out of Tennessee, certainly a site of enslavement. So their lives and all of the history of my family, all of those people, their lives, I think, are being celebrated with Juneteenth. So I'm glad it's a federal. It's like the Martin Luther King holiday. It took 30 years or more, to make that a federal holiday. This has taken hundreds of years, but to me, the bottom line is nobody gave up. We didn't say, okay, that was so long ago, let that go. We said, no, you have to honor our people and you have to honor our history. And that's what this does.
So, before in our pre podcast conversation, we talked about the exploitation of Juneteenth. And I shared with you the example of Walmart having uh, taken a black owned ice cream, red velvet ice cream, and putting the Juneteenth label on top of it. And this is the Always Save, I think it's Always Save, or the Great Value brand that Walmart has. And so the Great Value brand of the Walmart of this particular ice cream had the Juneteenth symbol on it. So apparently, as you know, there's a thing called Black Twitter, where all of the black people on the Twitterverse just came at Walmart and just was like, this is offensive, take this down. And so Walmart did the same. It took everything down. And the same comes with Vaseline, the brand we all know and love and I use every day. They had on their Vaseline bottle, like some artwork with black people and things of that nature. And to be honest, when I saw it, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, oh, that's cool representation. Let me take this, and because I always buy Vaseline, why not? Well, apparently Twitterverse let Vaseline have it again, and they are no longer selling. They've recalled all of those bottles and now are putting those, or jars, and they are putting them back on the shelf as normal. So there is a thing called exploitation, right? Is that really exploitation? Is that being representative, having some representation? What are your thoughts on that?
Holly, it's both. Of course, they do this to make money, but also I like the opportunity of going into Walmart or Kmart or Dollar General and being able to pick up a plate that says Juneteenth. I want to see Juneteenth acknowledged as widely as possible by as many people as possible. What they need to make sure that they're doing is partnering with Black people to do this, so that the Black community and folks in the Black community make money off of it, that it's not just the Walton family getting richer. So we need to do that, but also we need the word out. We need to spread it. Bought a Juneteenth T-shirt, and I will and do more. We sell them here at the Black Archives. Christmas is commercialized, so we can't just. There's no way to protect it from commercialism. What we need to do then is to assert that Black people are getting part of that money, rather than to have Walmart uh, recall all of this. If they can make a extremely sizable donation to the Black Archives or to the American Jazz Museum or the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, with some of the profit or with all of the profit from that, that then makes a statement that they are truly committed to the community and not just to the dollar. So we want it spread. I want to see little kids. We're celebrating Juneteenth all month. Makita Peterson and her crew have done an amazing job of setting up programs for the entire month. I want to see Juneteenth splattered and splashed all over every place. I want people to have stuff that they can take home so that they can see it after the month is over, after the day is over, after the parade is over. We all get upset when we see the white folks are capitalizing on us again. So that is the point. But also, I think better than having them just recall the products, is to have them invest those profits into our communities.
I'm glad you said that, because that makes a segue into like what LISC does and how we help. We have an economic empowerment, and particularly in those Black and Brown communities, because historically we know that entrepreneurs of color don't have the access to capital, don't have that backing. And you are absolutely right. If we could channel all of this energy and put it towards a good cause and not just doing lip service and actually investing in black owned businesses, or even giving the capital for these black and brown or persons of color businesses, like that speaks more volumes than just the straight capitalizing of everything. So that is, I couldn't even make that up myself. That's great. So a
Thank
few more questions. I know our time is winding down. Um, so just your opinion about this. We all know that the death in the murder, I call it, of George Floyd on national television um, completely rocked, I would say, sleeping giants. um, and it made everyone bring diversity, equity, and inclusion issues and racial issues to the forefront. I have noticed that a lot of corporations and national corporations, as well as within our city, organizations, corporations, have made a pledge to include diversity, equity, and inclusion within the workplace and make it more of a forefront versus an afterthought. What are your thoughts on those statements? Like, and this is just a blanket statement. Like, I know, for example, I feel like every company from Bath and Body to uh, Target to Walmart to H&M came out with statements right after George Floyd's death, denouncing or I don't want to say, because I never saw anyone, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I never saw anyone denounce racism. Um, I saw them, companies say, like, okay, we are making a more conservative effort to a constructive effort to address diversity, equity, and inclusion within our organizations, and this is what we stand for. Um, so all that to say, I'm painting a picture. And even with our own organizations within the city, within the metropolitan area, whether that's a corporation or organization, everyone is making this effort. But the effort without the lip service is my issue. So, Dr. Carmen, teach me something. How are we supposed to continue to fight for racial equity, but call out when lip service is just lip service? How do we do that?
you know, I think that's really interesting, Holly, because that you just hit one of my pet peeves on the head. I hear people do that, and then I want to shout at the TV and say, okay, make it happen. Especially when we look at politicians. I told the League of Women Voters, they had a diversity, I conducted a diversity workshop for them here on Saturday. And I told them that, they have to be apolitical. I said, but you know what? Every white person every white person, whether they're conservative or liberal or however they want to be portrayed, should be making public service announcements. And they should be saying, and I told them I want to do some because I get hacked off about it. Do not vote for people who tell you that they respect you and they don't vote for your benefit. Vote them out of office. We have to take that power. Everybody who says, oh, we are all inclusive. Well, what did you change? What did you change? How did you bring Blackness, Black life and culture, the support of Black communities, Black children? One of our young people here told them, if you have people who want to help the Black community, tell them to put some money into scholarships. Black Archives awards scholarships to our kids. We have to go out and hustle up that money. Well, if you're really true about that and you really mean that, then give us some money to give to kids. Also support those children. Don't just say, we're so sorry for what happened in the past. Well, reparations means that you change it right now. You don't have to give up money. It's not dollar for dollar. Nobody is expecting that to happen. But there are some positive things that you can do, many of them that do require money, but also many that just require effort. They require a vote, they require a conviction. You have to mean it. Don't just say it. You have to mean it. You can't just give lip service. You know, if your company is in control of a market, a situation, a community, an event, a product that can better someone's life, then what are you doing to make that happen? My employees are now diverse. How? Did you hire new people? You told them they have to think differently? Well, how does that look? How did that work? Did you change your bylaws? Um, what about your commitment to your community? And your community is larger than just those people in that one square block around your building. Um, so a lot of times I look at their commitments and then I look to see the action. It's that old saying that your folks used to teach you: actions speak louder than words. So let's see if you mean it, and how. What does that look like? What does your meaning, your shift, your change actually look like in our communities?
Woo! Any concluding comments? Because I feel like you can conclude on that, but any other concluding comments?
Oh, thank you. I want to thank you, Holly, for including us, including me and the Black Archives on your podcast. You're reaching a demographic of people that are important to affecting change. People in your age group and your social group are those folks who know how to make a difference. They just have to be committed to it, and they have to realize that it is still a fight that they have not overcome. So we have to make sure that we get that message out, and you're honest about that, and I appreciate that. And I liked our pre-podcast talk too, because
I
I learned something.
think. Well, I learned something too. I learned something too. Well, Dr. Karma, it has been a pleasure. We could go on and on. I invite you to come back anytime you feel like you want to come back on here. You just holler at me and we will make it happen. We can continue this conversation. I know this is a LISC has graciously given us this platform where we are able to ask open and free questions. And I one day want to tackle reparations and what that looks like. And I loved what you said. It's not necessarily, no one's asking dollar for dollar, no, at all. But what other forms of reparations could be, could level that playing field, if anything. And so that's a conversation I want to save for another day, but that's definitely something you and I are going to talk about on this
Oh.
platform.
And
um,
I would not be the CEO of the Black Archives if I didn't make a play. Join the Friends of the Black Archives.
okay.
You can go on our website, join Friends. You can come in, join the Friends,
Yeah.
and that helps. Be one of our supporters.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, what are the hours of the Black Archives? How much does it cost? Yeah, all those things.
Well, the exhibition halls are open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, and Saturdays by appointment. So we're usually always open on Saturdays. We don't charge anything for people to visit us. We're a nonprofit, but that doesn't mean that we can operate without funds. So we depend on donations and support from our community. We also have Heritage Hall, which is a membership where people can come and search their genealogy, their histories. And they're always asking, can you find my grandfather's war records? And I've had to say no. We don't have the staff, we didn't have the equipment, but now we do. We've had some generous funders, and Kauffman Foundation and Country Club Bank and others who have allowed us to do that. So we have that. So come join the Friends of the Black Archives. Come in. We have a coffee shop and a gift shop. In addition to our Heritage Hall, we have the home of a formerly enslaved woman. We also are the only site outside of Montgomery, Alabama. We've partnered with the Equal Justice Initiative to create an exhibition to honor people who were victims of racial murder. So come to the coffee shop, buy lunch, come to gift shop, buy books, cards, t-shirts, and come see the women's professional basketball started in Kansas City. So come visit their Hall of Fame here. Rent space, have your meetings. And we've had everything from baby showers to funerals here. So
I know. I love it. I love it. Well,
it's a beautiful building, and it's not just a promo piece. But when I tell people that we want community partners, but we also want the community to know that we are their partner, and we are. And thank you, Holly.
thank you
You're a
so
great
much.
partner.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.